If anyone wants to take a quick stretch. And hello to everyone at home. So the last few talks that I've done here have either bled into or continued on the conversation that other Dharma leaders had recently given talks on. I typically tend to start preparing my talks a few weeks in advance because I'm a slow writer and busy schedule. So I thought this time, what topic could I choose that my other Dharma leaders are not likely to choose? Sex. So tonight we're going to do mindfulness of sex. Now before I begin, I'm looking around, okay? If we have anyone who is a minor, I don't think we do, but if we do, you'll want to consult with your parent or guardian and get consent. Okay, we're all good? All consenting adults here? Good? Okay, thank you. Another reason for choosing this topic is recently I heard some surprising statistics regarding sexual activity trends. And it turns out there's a decline in sexual activity, the rates across all age spans. I kind of get a little bit, maybe as some folks get a little bit older and the bodies change, maybe sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to express intimacy this way. But the most remarkable change and decline is among the youth. As mammals, us Homo sapiens, okay, we're designed to get our genes into the next generation. We need pleasure to promote seeking that goal. But the pleasure needs to be temporary. If it were not temporary, unrelenting sex might lead to ambivalence, and that's not helpful for getting our genes into the next generation. There are health and societal benefits to a good, healthy sex life. It has been shown to improve sleep, improve immunity, improve circulation, lower blood pressure, improve self-esteem, decrease depression and anxiety, natural pain relief, increased intimacy and connection with a partner, strengthens the pelvic floor muscles, may prevent prostate cancer, and aids in stress reduction. Dharma leader Diana Winston, who has a talk on Dharma Seed on this, said we want to be aware of our motives in choosing our sexual action. Are we creating suffering, or are we creating connection and harmony? Am I being generous in this way, or am I being selfish? Am I fueled by compassion or by selfish passion? She also proposes the possibility for awakening to love through sexual connection, to connection with another, and even for spiritual transcendence. Yet with all of these benefits, why are we seeing a lack in motivation? In an article in the Los Angeles Times in 2023, it said the millennials and now the Gen Zers are having less sex with fewer partners than their parents' and their grandparents' generations. And this trend started before COVID. In 2011, there were 22% of Californians aged 18 to 30 reporting having no sexual partners in the last 12 months. That crept up to 29% in 2019 and jumped to 38% in 2021. Now we can give COVID some credit for that. According to Debbie Herbenek, who is the director for the Center for Sexual Health Promotion at Indiana University, so the young adults are not drinking as much. I think we've probably seen a lot of news on that. They are facing more mental health challenges. They're living with their parents longer. And believe it or not, that was not one of the prime predictors of diminishing sexual activity. So people are still creative, okay? Computer games and social media have become a sort of stand-in for physical relationships. Young adults have endless amounts of access to free pornography online, and much of the most popular online pornography features violence and coercion, which gives some young adults a flawed perspective on sex, and it turns others off completely. Psychology professor Jean Twenge from San Diego State University wrote, while the practical benefits of waiting to be in a physical relationship includes less risk for sexually transmitted diseases and for unplanned pregnancies, she argued there are also downsides to young people abstaining from sex. More broadly, intimacy. Unhappiness and depression at all-time highs among young adults. Twenge ties these rises to the smartphones and to social media, and she noted with concern this steady decline in birth rate. We might not be so concerned about that, but maybe we should be. It creates the question whether or not Social Security can survive, so we might have some interest in this. Will there be enough young workers to support the elderly as we age in this system? Will there be enough young workers to take care of us older folks when we get to assisted living facilities and assisted care facilities? Another contributing factor, which we will not be surprised by, is stress. The consistent barrage of dings and pings from our phones, our smartwatches, our emails, etc., the vibrations from the smartwatches, they all temporarily decrease our cognitive performance, equivalent to the loss of about 10 IQ points temporarily. Kind of interesting. We may actually be missing the cues for sexual activity due to being in our heads, to multitasking, attention to technology, and not listening to our bodies. I grew up in a conservative Catholic environment, and even though my beliefs have changed over the years on many of these teachings that I heard, I have deeply grooved neuronal patterns that have been set forth by those church teachings, and I'm sure I'm not alone with that. So I wondered, what does the Dharma say regarding sex? So the most conservative stance is that for the monks and the nuns who take precepts that include chastity, no sex with any sentient being, including themselves. There's no exception, even if they're practicing not self. Okay. Okay. So this was kind of funny. One of the speakers had said this: imagine if you went to the grocery store and saw a magazine with 10 tips on how to make your celibate life better. That was pretty funny. Dharma leader Brian Laseg said many of the lay community are sexually engaged to be connected with others. But there was a religious Buddhist said that he is celibate to be able to connect with others. In this way, we're not distracted by the sense pleasures, and we can be free to give the gift of total presence. On retreat, lay practitioners tend to take 5 to 8 precepts, and 3A is I refrain from any kind of intentional sexual behavior while on retreat. So one can work with the arising of sensual desires without grasping, and to provide a safe environment for all others in attendance so it doesn't interfere with another's practice. Even while not on retreat, some lay practitioners take the 5 precepts as a way of life. To refrain from killing is number 1, and harming. 2, refraining from stealing. 3, refraining from sexual misconduct. 4, refraining from false speech. And 5, refraining from intoxicants. The last precept on intoxicants is really a call to consume mindfully, and that's the consumption of anything. The Buddha taught there is no liberation if we are attached to our sensual pleasures. On the Tricycle website, regarding the third precept, it says it explicitly forbids adultery, rape, sex with someone who is engaged with another, imprisoned, or ordained. The Buddha generally advised his followers to abide by the society's laws, so subtle nuances in this third precept might be understood to change from country to country or culture to culture. There's a sutta called the Yoga Sutta, and it involves the yoke, something that holds us down. And the Buddha said, monks, these are the 4 yokes: the yoke of sensuality, the yoke of becoming, the yoke of views, and the yoke of ignorance. And what is the yoke of sensuality? This is the case where a certain person does not discern as it actually is present the origination, the passing away, the allure, the drawbacks, and the escape from sensuality. When he does not discern as it is actually present, the origination, passing away, allure, drawbacks, and escape, then with regard to sensual objects, he is obsessed with sensual passion, sensual delight, sensual attraction, infatuation, thirst, fever, fascination, and craving. This is the yoke of sensuality. We can be missing a lot of life that's going on if those things are happening. And what is the unyoking? It is the person who discerns as it is actually present. The third precept is an intention to not use sexual energy in a way that causes suffering, dis-ease, or disharmony. It is protective of each party involved. You will also see this guidance in the 4th factor in the Eightfold Path, right action, which says we are to abstain from misconduct of sensual pleasures. The Plum Village Monastery that was founded by Thich Nhat Hanh has a statement regarding mindfulness of sex. Aware of the suffering that is caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. Knowing that sexual desire is not love, and that sexual activity motivated by craving can harm myself as well as others. I am determined to not engage in sexual relations without mutual consent, true love, and deep long-term commitment. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Now, in Theravadan Buddhism, self-pleasure is not considered a violation of the 5 precepts for lay people. While it's not explicitly forbidden, it is generally discouraged due to its association with sense desires and potential for attachment, which can hinder our spiritual practice. I'll make note, there are professionals who actually encourage some folks to engage in this so that they can better come to know how their body operates and how it feels and how to be able to then communicate that in a connection or for their own health and well-being. Buddhism does not hold a particular view on marriage or monogamy, although there are teachers who stress the importance of monogamy to avoid sexual misconduct. Opt for mature relationships with independent people who are unmarried and with free consent, so as long as they are not intentionally harming and there's no breach of the training factors. Contraception and family planning are not forbidden by the 3rd precept. The 3rd precept does not offer a comprehensive answer regarding pornography. Since the precepts are meant to be taken as a whole, sexual misconduct is often defined in relation to other ethical guidelines. Are you in a sexual relationship causing harm to yourself or others? Or is it a source of harmony and goodwill? That's regarding the first precept. Do they involve taking that which is not given to you freely? Are your sexual choices deceitful? Do you have sex or porn addiction? The American College of Pediatricians has a statement on the impact of pornography. There is now clear scientific evidence that online pornography is a true addiction. In addition to the maladaptive effects for young adults, pornography use can be associated with poor mental health. Americans who watch pornography more often tend to report feelings of social isolation and loneliness, lower levels of self-confidence, and less satisfying sex lives. Frequent pornography use is associated with anxiety, stress, and depression among college-age adults. We're going to get to a good part, I promise. Okay. In addition to these maladaptive effects, the Buddha says that the disciple of the Noble One abstains from illicit sex. In doing so, he gives freedom from danger, animosity, and oppression to a limitless number of beings. And in doing so, he gains a share of limitless freedom from danger, gains freedom from animosity, and gains freedom from oppression. In considering a sexual act, is there a risk that my behavior could hurt someone? What are my intentions and motivations? And does this take me off my spiritual path? How can we use our practice for positive sexual expression? In our meditation practice, like we practiced a bit earlier this evening, we can use it as an opportunity to get in touch with the present moment in our mindfulness of our body and the mindfulness of the feelings of perhaps whether something's pleasant or unpleasant. Also, mindfulness of the mind. What is my mind saying? Is my mind present in the moment? We can get an understanding of our relationship desire in our meditations, and then also in our relationship to others. If we're in meditation and we're working with reducing our sensual cravings in that moment, what we want to do is, if the sensual thought is not beneficial, try to bring yourself back to the present moment and aware of all the senses in that moment as they actually are, not lost in a mind story. At the beginning of the practice, of your meditation practice, set an intention for attention. Mindfulness practice has been shown to improve attention, and attention improves our body's response to cues. In an intimate setting, keep fully present with direct observation of your experience. Meet another with presence, total presence, to feel seen and heard and connected with another. Consider the practice of what's called sensate focus. This was originally developed by the Masters and Johnson back in the 70s. There's a good copy of this on the Cornell website. You just type in sensate focus and it will come up. It's a practice you can use. I use this in my job. I'm a physical therapist, and I'm helping folks who are having difficulty with intercourse and have pain. And if you have pain, we encourage folks not to have intercourse at first because the sensation is to move away because you're afraid of pain. And I liken it to when you have a picnic and the family's best friend comes over and he's the one that's always bopping you in the arm, right? You're going to move away. I mean, you like the person very much, but you're going to move away. So going to the sensate focus practice can be helpful for developing intimacy and trust while relaxing the body. So what it is you have a giver and a receiver. And the goal in this is to try to be present moment to moment. And the receiver, hopefully using as few words as possible, just notes as they are receiving touch. And ideally, you're staying away from any genital areas at first and just go into the rest of the body and see how you receive touch. If the giver doesn't seem to be aware that you're not liking something too much, it's fine to say, "Thank you, I think I would prefer something else. Can we try something else?" And you just say very kindly and lovingly. And then the job of the giver is twofold. One of them is to try to be aware of how the touch is being received, but also how they feel giving touch. Okay. For some people, doing something like a soft stroke on the arm is just delightful. For someone else, it feels like bugs crawling on them, but they might like it here, right? They might like it somewhere else. Have you guys heard of the book, The 5 Love Languages, where we tend to give love the way we want to receive love, but maybe the person we care most about prefers to receive love in a different way? It's the same with touch. We only know touch the way we have received it and the way we understand it. Until we go on this journey with our partner, we don't know. And it's good to get that communication, to have real cohesion. And then I encourage the patients, and depending upon how people feel here and if they wanted to use that, to then go on to further exploration in more sensual areas of the body. And when both partners are ready, if they prefer, and of course, that's have fun. There's another technique called the bossy massage, and that's by Betty Martin. And what this is one partner tunes into their body and listens to what they want. It might be to have their hand held. It might be to have an arm across their shoulder or a hand on the thigh, whatever. You listen to what that is, and then you tell your partner, and hopefully your partner will be able to do that with you. And then to take 4 to 5 breaths together in that posture. And then the receiver, again, looks into the body to see what they want and asks for that in a kind way. And you go on, and then you switch partners. Or you can alternate back and forth. However you keep peace in your house. Okay. There's no right or wrong. It's all just developing awareness. Be present in the moment, aware of your postures, of your sensations, and of your breathing. Matching your breathing or following your partner's breathing can be a lovely way to develop intimacy. Try to stay focused in the present moment without grasping or fearing the passing of a pleasant moment. Progressive muscle relaxation, we did a little bit of that tonight, can be helpful, as well as cognitive behavioral therapy has been shown to have good results in improving sexual satisfaction. In summary, our sexuality can have very positive health benefits. We want to proceed with loving intention and presence that are for the benefit of all parties involved. Not participate in sexual behaviors that can harm any party. And there are techniques that we can practice to improve our sexual appreciation and to build deep, loving connections.